Hi, everyone. I'm Maddie with Temple of Geek, and I am here talking with Brandon Rogers. How are you today?
I'm doing a lot better now that I'm with you, Maddie.
Oh, stop. Thank you. So, you have built one of the most influential comedy empires of the past decade. What has it been like for you to go from being a YouTube sensation to being a writer and actor for something as big as the Helliverse?
It feels good. Well, it feels first of all, I feel very honored because it does not happen to a lot of YouTubers. I always thought that because I was a YouTuber, I was inherently only destined for this much success. I'm not a musician, so the route that Joji went, I knew couldn't. I wasn't talented enough to go down. So I'm like, well, I can't seem to make it as an actor. I can't seem to make it as a writer. And then this show came along. Vivian Madrano came along and granted me the title of both. And I got to be, not only am I a writer and an actor, but I get to make, I get to weigh in on massive lore decisions for a really huge franchise. And it makes me feel like I'm trusted with really big cooking utensils, even though I've never really been in a kitchen before. So yeah, it's an honor. It's overwhelming, a good kind of overwhelming, but it's not somewhere that I thought I would be. It's somewhere I always wanted to be, but I never realistically thought I'd be here. So
Yeah, yeah. And you have been heavily involved in the press tours recently. You made appearances at major conventions like San Diego Comic-Con, where I got to talk to you for a little bit at a round table.
it was brief. I felt like we were speed dating, and I barely even got to know what kind of food you like.
Yes, those round tables are really quick. What was it like being on that massive panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and what has it been like meeting fans in that sort of scale?
Well, I broke the fucking toy. I broke on the Comic Con panel. They gave me a toy of Alistair, and I broke it. And that's not me trying to be shady toward Amir. I was not that time, but yeah, that was embarrassing. It's crazy. Almost every weekend we go to it's obviously San Diego. That was a huge panel, but we do panels almost every weekend, and it is scary because every weekend you have to look down the barrel of a massive blob of people. I think over 500, over 1,000 people, and it becomes like just a blob. And it is scary because it's a blob of people who are listening to your every word, and they're dressed like you, and they know more about you than you know about yourself. And the worst answer they hate is "I don't know." So you have to make sure you got everything. But uh, how does that? I mean, it feels a lot. I used to do stand up comedy, and it felt a lot scarier to do stand up for a room full of 20 people because you can hear every reaction, see every face. You're kind of more in tune with how you're doing with it. Whereas like a sea of people that's not a person, that's just a thing. That's like talking to a wall. So it's not as scary as when I did stand up before. I think doing stand up, and also those people bought tickets for a very specific experience. These people, there's no expectation that comes with a panel. People just kind of want to hear you talk about, other than like knowing about your show. There's really no expectation of what you have to do on a panel. So yeah, they're very forgiving. Our fans are very welcoming. Honestly, I'm pretty sure that we could just go up on stage and talk about food for an hour, and hopefully people would find it interesting. I don't know, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I actually have more fun doing the conventions than the actual show sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fun. I would listen to an hour-long panel of you guys talking about food. I think that would be hilarious because, it would divulge into a bunch of other things. It wouldn't just be food for an hour.
Yeah, go on an airplane with Richard Horvitz. You'll learn everything he likes. That man loves to talk. Um, but yeah, that's probably my biggest joy of doing these is I get to be friends with my cast and just enjoy life with them. We get to have dinner with each other and be just real regular people outside of the rat race of Los Angeles. We get to go to a different city every weekend and just like, oh, let's grab lunch or dinner in this cute little place and just not think about work for a few hours. And that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. And speaking of Richard, he touched on this topic a little bit during San Diego Comic Con, but there has been an increase in the desire for adult animated shows. And we have watched the Helliverse become such a critical part of millennial culture.
Yes.
Why do you believe shows like Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel have become the phenomenon that they are?
Animation in its birth was very infantile, made for children, very goo goo gaga. There was almost no adult animation back in the day, and then the generation after grew up on that shit, so they took a little bit more seriously, and the animations crept its way into teens, preteens, and like the 80s and 90s, and then you have us who grew up on that. So I feel like every generation or every two generations, comedy gets taken more seriously and is intended for an older and older audience, because I think we're realizing that comedy, or I mean not comedy, I'm sorry, cartoons, animation, they're not just cartoons anymore. They're not just for
Mhm.
children. And I think Hell of a Boss and Hazbin Hotel, shows like that, really are kind of the next step in making animation more legitimate, for adults. It's like the Trixie Mattel makeup of entertainment. That shit looks like it's for kids, but it's really good quality. And I feel like that's what our show is. I feel like it looks like it's Disney, and then you look a little closer and you see some cleavage and some bulge, and you see some this and that, and you're like, oh, these are horny queers and they're violent. So, uh, um, yeah, I think that animation should, and I think in another couple of decades, it's going to take itself even more seriously. I think um, I was a big fan of Paul Rubens growing up, Pee Wee Herman, and Pee Wee's Playhouse used animation styles from all decades. And so as a kid, I grew up on a lot of old cartoons and then newer cartoons. And I've noticed the old cartoons, I kind of liked them more because they didn't take themselves so seriously. They were really goofy, but I like the direction that it's moving. I think animation is a beautiful art form and shouldn't just be reduced for only children, because that means it's an art form you have to grow out of.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, I love that. Um, Now, in Hazbin Hotel, you voice Katie Killjoy,
Oh my god,
um,
I love.
and she is inspired by one of your characters, Bryce. Did you make that connection, or was that something Vivian wrote just for you?
When I first saw the original pilot, I knew I wouldn't want to tell Viv, "Hey, I think you were inspired by one of my things for your thing." But like, she has very similar mannerisms. Bryce is breaking her neck, and the way she talks, and the smile, and this and that. And so there was so much. And one day, Viv was just flat out like, "Yeah, that Katie was inspired by Bryce. So do you want to play her?" And it was a very casual. It was that casual. I think we were in her living room, like watching Smiling Friends or some shit, and she just turns to me and was like, "Would you like to play Katie Killjoy?" It was the most casual role I ever landed, the most simple audition process. Um, and Katie Killjoy is one of the few roles where I don't feel like I have imposter syndrome playing her, because all I had to do was walk into the booth and be Bryce. And so
Mhm.
I try making her voice an octave or so lighter in has been, just to distinguish it from Blitz, because already Bryce and Blitz talk so similarly. So
Mhm.
uh, I have to make them sound a lot. And heaven forbid those characters ever wind up in the same room together. But
That would be iconic, but also a little terrifying.
it would be. I am very thankful though that they have more faith in Katie. It's weird. Hell of a Boss. I have a big stake in what happens as a writer, but has been. I'm always kind of just like the rest of the cast. We're biting our nails, hoping something good comes of our character before we see the script. So to see how much dialogue they were, gracious enough to let Katie have, it really it was like Christmas morning, just like opening up that script and being and seeing all the Katie. Um, because I think in season one she was kind of more of just a filler character. I think, and I
Mhm.
could be wrong, but I think Katie only existed in season one because they needed episodes 1 and 8 to be longer. So they just added a new segment recapping everything. But yeah, this season she has a lot more to chew on with her tits.
I love that. Now, looking back at the creation of your characters and your internet skits, was there
Yeah.
something that went viral that maybe you weren't expecting to take off?
Funny enough, most of the stuff that has popped off on my channel, there was something about it while I made it that I kind of knew. Like I have a character who says, "Move, I'm gay."
Mhm.
When I remember writing that, I still worked an office job, and I was in the office that we filmed that, and I remember writing that script, going, "Oh, that's going to be a viral moment." And it weird, like it. But then again, you kind of think that about everything, so that could just be confirmation bias. You kind of make everything hoping it'll blow up, but I distinctly remember writing that line, thinking that's going to be a good one. Uh, yeah, it's weird. It's like when you light an old Bath and Body Works candle and it has a few pops of spark, and you're kind of not sure, was that the last one? Was that the last one? That's how my career has felt. Like, oh wow, you have that one pop, and you think it's the only one. You think, oh, that was cool. I had a viral video, and then you have "Try Me, Bitch," or "There's only one thing worse than a rapist," or whatever the other memes are that I was a part of, and they pop because you don't know when they'll pop off. Some memes will something you made like 10 years ago will decide one day the internet loves it, and so
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I learned that you never know when the last pop is going to be, and so very thankful. I mean, all of the memes that I've been a part of, I'm really happy. Those are clips I'm very proud of. Nothing that I felt mediocre about has ever. Actually, there was a line where I say, "I'm not just a bitch. I'm a bitch with a backstory," and that was just for some promo. That was something to advertise something else, and I wasn't even going to keep that video on YouTube. I was going to remove it, but for some reason that popped off. So
Mhm.
I think if there's something you say that an audience finds relatable, or yeah, if it's applicable to a lot of different people's context with what they're posting, that kind of dialogue can pop off sometimes. But you never know. You could fart and that goes viral. You never know what the world will like. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the "I'm not just a bitch, I'm a bitch with a backstory" is very big in the cosplay circle. Like, I'm on the cosplay side of TikTok, and a lot of
Uh,
people are using that for, like, their really sad backstory characters, and so it's everywhere.
There's one thing I've learned from this fandom, whether it's Hazbin, Helluva, or my own fandom, it's that the fans are way more creative than us. The fans are way more talented than us. Like our fan base is so fucking brilliant, and not only are they people that I would have hung out with in college or high school, but they're the people that I would have tried to be more like. The artists and cosplayers that I really would have taken inspiration from. So to see that that's the crowd we attract is the biggest compliment, because they are geniuses. All of our whole fan base. It's a reminder to keep to not get comfortable. It's a reminder to do your very best, because your fans are going to do a really good job. And so, uh, even doing my own cosplay, like my own costumes, when I see people who walk up dressed as Bryce or Helen or Blitz, and they do a better job than I do, that's kind of another like step up your pussy moment, and like do a better job, Brandon. Yeah. But it's also a compliment. It's like people take
Mhm.
this seriously. They're not just slapping on a wig and throwing some they're like they're treating getting into my characters with the kind of care and respect I should be doing it with. So uh anyway, I love my fans so much. I love the has-been fan. I mean, they're all kind of the same cesspool of people. I'm pretty sure a lot of Weird Al's people are in there too. And what we do in the shadows, and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love that. And moving into Helluva Boss specifically, you are both the voice and co-writer of Blitz. How has your goal of knowing this character inside and out allowed you to explore the more complex or challenging aspects of his story?
I just write we write what we know. Blitz, a lot of what he goes through is stuff that I've gone through in my life. I'm very, I mean, the writers of Hell of It, we're all very, very close with each other. One of them I grew up with. I feel like when it comes to, and I can't speak for the rest of the characters, but when it comes to Blitz, his trauma is, my mom did not die in a fiery accident, but I've had trauma similar to that situation, and I think it's a matter of tapping into the authenticity, at least that I can bring to it. Um, Here's the thing: people think that the comic relief of a show or a film, I that they don't have a place to. it's not right for them to cry or for them to have their heart broken or for them to feel scared. But the thing is, we all do, and I think my favorite actors are ones who could take a character that we know to laugh at and to show what they look like on other parts of that emotional wheel. And what you know, what it's like going back to Pee Wee Herman. You know, I thought Paul Rubens did a great job of showing what Pee Wee looks like when he's angry or when he's sad. You know, you watch him long enough and you'll find moments where the character doesn't have their way, and I think that's where the acting can really shine, because it's easy to play the funny character, but now playing that's just actually what Richard Horvitz said. You know, he was like, everyone can does their Porky Pig impression or their Donald Duck impression, but what does Donald Duck or Porky Pig sound like when they're having a really bad day or when they're going through a breakup? You still have to be them, but now
Mhm.
there's this other layer of something that's off. And so uh yeah, I explore a lot of the darker stuff with my own characters on YouTube, and with Blitz, he really doesn't feel different than another one of the characters I do on YouTube. Technically, you know, Viv created him, but he has so much of my Brandon juice inside of him that when he does go into something hard, I don't feel like I'm going on a path that I'm unfamiliar with how to navigate. I just feel like I know the guy so well. So,
Mhm.
and you know, it's a risk. You know, I didn't know that the emotional scenes would come out decent. I thought they were going to come out really cheesy, and I thought the acting was going to be really bad. And then I heard it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not so bad. So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very good, and the heart and soul really does come through in your acting. You really do a phenomenal job. And how, as an actor, do you portray that contrast and make the duality of Blitz so believable and relatable?
you know, I don't know. It's never really been something I've thought about. They all come from a very authentic place. It's not like, okay, now I'm doing the sad lines, so I hope these sound. They all come from the same pipe in the organ, I guess. Yeah, and also a lot of the episodes kind of start with Blitz at a 10. He's yelling about something, and when we record, it's a great. Most of Blitz's first scenes in every episode are a great warm up, and then by the rest of it, when things get deeper, I've already been shouting and screaming. I feel like every episode, Blitz cries, Blitz screams, Blitz laughs really hard, Blitz is an asshole, and Blitz talks really quietly. He does like it really does wear out your voice, and so by the time you get to the, because in no episode does it start off where it's a super emotional, at least none that I could think of, and so it is like a warm up. Once you've done all the screaming and the yelling and being funny, the sad stuff I feel like can flow out easier because you've just, I don't know, it's like screaming and shaking your body. You just feel
Mhm.
looser. Um, Yeah, that and I just read a lot of sad stories. I watch the news for a little bit, and then I get real depressed, and then I'm ready to go.
The perfect combination of preparation.
Yeah, having the news in your back pocket is just like having, depression ready at any moment. You're like, all right, here we go. Okay, all right, let's do it.
Right, what's on the docket today?
I will say there was a day where I was going through a really hard time, and I was in tears for, I can barely even remember what I was going through, but I was just having a really bad day, and I almost canceled my shoot. And and I talked about it, and like we're like, you know, let's use this. Let's see if we could. And I thought it was one of the best performances. I felt like I was surfing, like I was letting out a side of my voice that I don't get to hear very often because it was authentic, like sadness that coming out of me. So there is some truth to like being able to pocket that depression, pocket that sadness, and pull it out and infect yourself with it when you need to be sad, because it can be tougher to bring out that emotion sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Luckily,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
final question to wrap up here.
yeah.
Do you have any advice for content creators who are trying to make that switch from social media sketches to breaking into Hollywood?
Yes, the only bit of advice I could ever give after doing this, like if I had to pick one thing, it's to not fall out of love with what you do, to always be obsessed with what you're doing, and to see the spark in it, because heaven forbid you become successful doing something that you were just doing for people to notice you. I think that's why a lot of content creators do get burnt out, is because they picked something. At the end of the day, you want to be on TV or film, or a lot of people, I don't know, nowadays people want to just be a content creator, but for those trying to make the leap, uh we do things and say things to get ourselves seen, that then heaven forbid we get seen, and then we have to keep replicating that thing that we weren't quite in love with. uh I think part of what has, I think like a good chunk of what has made Viv successful is that she has stayed in love with what she does, and she's never done it so she could have the biggest show possible or have the most eyes watching, or never has she, made something thinking, oh yes, the audience is going to like it, I might not like it, but the audience, she's, everything she makes is from here. And I
Mhm.
think that that's why she hasn't gotten burnt out yet, and why she can do two shows. It's because she's her own biggest fan with the content. She's the one who's invested in it, and she cares about these characters like the real life people. And that's the kind of obsession you need to not get burnt out. So yeah, I just say avoid burnout, and the best way to do that is to love what you do. Because, and then even then, if you're doing what you love, you could still get burnt out.
Yeah.
So and that's truly the saddest thing, because not only are you having your dreams taken from you, but you're, in a way, you've also had the want for those dreams taken away, and so which is even worse. So um, yeah, just love what you do, really.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Brandon, and, good luck on all of your ventures.
Maddie, I really appreciate this. Thank you so much for you taking the time. Again, sorry I was late jumping in here, but I had a great time talking with you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.